the one, the only, Ben Sion.
Good afternoon and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, just Daf It. Today we're doing Daf It Gittin, number 13. Very interesting share today. Macholkas will discuss in Rameir and the Rabbanon whether freeing an Eved is a chov, is a bad thing for the Eved, or is a good thing for the Eved. It's a conflict of opinion we saw in the Mishnah. The various opinions will explain themselves today. And in Ian with Ben Sion, I'll be giving you a more in-depth understanding of what they're really arguing about. To get started, Yud Beis and Yud Beis, about 10 lines up. Tanya, Amar Elazar, Amar Lo Meir. Elazar was one of the Rabban. He said to Reb Meir. Reb Meir was arguing. He argued in the Mishnah. He says that both for an Isha and for an Eved, it's a chov. It's a disadvantage to be freed, or a woman to be nisgarish. The Rabbanan say a woman, yes, but an Eved is a schus. And therefore the nafkamina is the practical difference. If you give a shtar shechur, a get shechur, an emancipation document to a shliach, to an emissary, to give to him. So once you give it to the shliach, you can no longer retract, because you could be zocha for an Eved, something which is positive for him, even it didn't get to him yet. It's a positive thing. Amar lanu chofulo. He says it's a bad thing. Shemaya Eved Kohen post something at truma, right? If he's was the Eved belonging to a Kohen, so once he gets free, you can no longer eat truma. As long as you're an Eved, the king of a Kohen, you can eat truma, but now you can't eat truma anymore. Amar lo, he said to him, "Velo ma'im yirtza shelo zuno shelo farn so rashai." The owner has much more control, and he besides truma, yes. You can hold on to the Eved, and like we saw yesterday, like Rabbi Yochanan, that you can say to the Eved, "Asay mi v'nei zancha," work for me. I'm not going to feed you. You're right. You could eat truma, but the Eved also, the Rav, the master, has discretion to say, "I don't want to give you any food, whether it's truma or chulin. I don't give you anything." So it doesn't matter whether you freeze or not. He always has that ability to say that. Amar lanu. Amar lanu, he said back to us, yes, technically he could hold back, but if the Eved would run away from his master, and the master doesn't find him, so technically he's still the Eved of this person, and maybe people will be nice to him, a Kohen will find him, and give him a truma, and he can eat that, because he's still the kinyan of a Kohen. Same thing with a woman who's still who's married to her husband, Ashes Israel is married to a Kohen, she could eat truma also. If she had run away and she didn't get divorced, she could still eat truma. However, once you give the shtar shecher, once you emancipate him, he can't eat truma. Aval isha chovula, shkein pastla min truma mafsida min mazonos. However, I agree to you. Well, he's not agreeing, but also this is the Rabbanan continuing. The Rabbanan are continuing, even though we'll explain this discussion in a second. But the Rabbanan say, even though by Eved it's a schos, it's a beneficial thing to be freed, a woman is a chov, because not only does she lose truma, right, she also doesn't get fed, right? When she's married, she gets fed by her husband. The ksuva guarantees that she gets fed. When she's divorced, she no longer is provided with her mazonos. Micah Amrulay, Micah Mahadlu. What's the discussion going on? What are they saying to him, and what did he answer? Hashivasuni ala mazonos, matishivun ala truma. You answered me about mazonos. What are you going to answer about truma? Right? You're right. There's no mazonos. Never doesn't get mazonos, but he has truma. Maybe you'll say he could just go ahead and throw a shtar shecher, and he can't eat truma. Shavik leiv arik va'azal alma. He can go before it, even if he sees that his master is about to throw a shtar shecher in his dalanam. Dalanam is counted by a get, and potentially also by a shtar shecher. He could run away. He can go somewhere else where he can't find him. You give him an olive on the top. Mal ilu kohen Eved kohen shabarach ve'ishes kohen shamar dal baila halo ochlam b'truma v'zein ochel. There's a difference. If he would run away or the wife would run away, they can still eat truma. But once you give the emancipation document, you can't eat truma. So Shapik Amrlu. He's saying very good to Rabbanan. What are they going to answer? Rava. That's the Rabbanan's retort in the Mishnah. And they said because he's the Kenyan. What does that mean? The boy Shakal Arba Zuzim Israel Pasale. Kol Heicha de Isay. You're right. He runs away, but the master could go to somebody else and sell him for zuzim, whatever he wants, cheaper price. Now you have to devalue the price because you can't find the Eved, you don't know where he is, but he can sell him for a small amount of money. Once he sells him to Yisrael, he's no longer the property of a Kohen, he can't eat Truma. So it's always in the power of the master to ruin his ability to eat Truma. So the Gemara goes back. Now, it doesn't answer what Rameir says to this Taina, right? Rameir says you can't get rid of his Truma because, right, he can go run away and he could retain the right to eat Truma. But what about the Rabbanan's retort? That technically, once he could sell him. That the Gemara doesn't address. I'm going to address that in Yud Ben Sion. Rameir Tenach, a different question the Gemara is. Rameir Tenach Eved Kohen. His whole discussion that is considered a chov to the Eved, it's a detriment to the Eved to be freed. That's only when he's the slave of a Kohen. Eved Yisrael, Ma'ikal and Meimar. There's no positives about being the Eved of Yisrael. And he also gets freed. It should be a schusah for him at least. He's a free man. It's good to be free. It's better to be that enslaved. They wanted to get him Mitzrayim. They didn't want to stay in Mitzrayim. Amar Rabbi Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak, because no longer an Eved is allowed to be married to a Shifcha Knainis. Once he's freed, he can no longer marry a Shifcha Knainis. It's better that he frees him because now he can marry a higher ranking woman in class. Now she's not a slave woman. She's not she's not a Shifcha Knainis. She's not a slave woman. She's a free woman. That's a higher societal status. So the Gemara tells you the truth. From the Eved's perspective, he'd rather have the woman as a Shifcha Knainis than be free to marry and be in the Shidduch Parsha and never get married for 10 years. Because when he's an Eved, as a Shifcha Knainis, she's available for him, she's cheap for him. And usually a Shifcha Knainis is more, not as sanua, she'll be more, she'll acquiesce a lot easier to him. So a Shifcha Knainis is easier for him to have what he wants, and that's the woman in his life. Once you become freed, it's not so easy to navigate the world to find the good shidduch. So technically, that's what's better for him. Now, this is a really good thing, right? This is a good time that Reb Meir is saying. It sounds a lot better than what he said before, that he's losing out on Truma. What do the Rabbanan say to this? That's the real question. I mean, we probably pass on like the Rabbanan. It seems to make a lot of sense. Most of them would rather be enslaved because they have the Shivcha Knainis, right? What's life without a woman? The woman situation, the sexual situation is better when you're a slave, not when you're freed. So what are you going to answer to that? We have to figure out what the Rabbanan would answer. Like Gemara doesn't tell you. We'll deal with that in Iyun Ben Sion. The Mishnah says, "Omer tnu get del ishti." He says to a shliach, "Give this get to my wife. Shtar shekher el avdi. Give this emancipation document to my eved umeis." And he dies before the shliach has a chance to give it to him. Lo yitnu la'achar misa. The halacha is you can't give the get or the shtar shekher after misa, and even if you give it, it's ineffective. It doesn't work because it's a concept we learned about. And get la'achar misa, and a mesa magarsha and pakal reshusay. Basic idea is that once you die, you're dead. You're dead. You can't be a megarish anymore. You can't be meshachar anymore. However, if a person says give $100 to this man, and then he dies before the man has a chance to give it to him, he gets the money after Misa. The Gemara will explore the differences. That which we said in the Mishnah, that he gets the money, it's only if the money was designated and set aside in a corner. Am I asking, what are we talking about? If we're talking about a healthy person who instructs someone to give that money to somebody else, kitziburin my happy. What does it matter if they're tziburin, right? He didn't know that he was going to die, right? Halo mashach, right? when the person dies, it goes to his inheritors. And as long as no one did Mashicha, no one was Kona. Just by saying give it to him, you're not Kona the money until you actually do Mashiach. You do a Kinyan, some sort of Kinyan over it. It was a Matana, you have to do a Kinyan. Maybe we're talking about a person who's on his deathbed. He's about to die. My ear is Siburin. What does it have to be that the money is allocated and standing up and designated in the corner of a room? Kain Siburin, not me, even if it's not. That kind of the word of a shchivra, a person about to die, the Rabbanan made it like it's already done. It's like the money was already given over to his hands, so the inheritors never got it. The Rabbanan equated it with a kinyan. Rav Zid answers really we're talking about, the Mishnah is talking about a healthy person who suddenly dies. Rav Zid says we're talking about a case of Maimid Shlashtan, meaning there's a person there in the corner who's holding on to the money. This is a third party over here, and someone, right? The person who's going to die, Ruvain, he gives the present. He tells Shimon who's holding the money, give it to Levi. They're all three in the same room together, and that works. We're going to learn tomorrow. We'll explain this more. That Mamid Shlashtan is a kinyan that works merely through words. Words transfer the money from the intermediary to the third person. That's why it has to be, we're going to learn in a second, it has to be only by pikadon. It's a discussion whether it applies by a milva, halva, if someone owes him money. But if I deposited money with another person, that definitely works. So that's what it's talking about over here. Rav Papa says, really we're talking about, Mishnah's talking about a person who's on his deathbed. He says, give $100 to someone from my possessions. Manazeh, if he says this $100 in an envelope, nostin. Manastam ain't nostin. If he just says $100 stam, we don't give. Chayshina shema mana cover. Maybe he's talking about $100 that's buried somewhere underneath his house. So only if he says manazeh, and here that's why it has to be simbur no munachin, and it's designated in the corner. That's basically what he's saying. He's saying give this money, and only then it works. Otherwise, we're worried that he's referring to other money. The Gemara happens to mention is that not like Rav of this, that even if he says manastam, the halacha happens to be we're not worried about money. He doesn't mean specifically money buried underneath his house. He means any $100 that he has. So the Gemara goes back. There's two different answers to this question: Rav Zid and Rav Papa. Rav Papa, my time will Rav Zid. Why didn't Rav Papa, the second opinion, say like Rav Zid? They were talking about Masas Bari, and we're talking about Maimid Shlashtan, when the three of them are together. So the Gemara answers you, Gimel Abayis, Kasav Rav Papa, Gimel Rav, Loshnav and Milvev, Loshnav Pikadon. When Rav said Maimid Shlashtan works, he didn't just say it works in a case of Pikadon, where it's deposited, which would be the Kiddush or Mishnah. Even by a case of Milvev, right, where Shimon owes money to Reuben, Reuben can say to Shimon, give the money that you owe me to Levi. And therefore, our Mishnah wouldn't be a Kiddush, the bigger Kiddush by Milvev. So that's the Kimber Mishnah is talking about. Rav Zid, my time, Lomar Karav Papa. Rav Zid, why didn't he say like Rav Papa? I was talking about Shchimera. He says, our Mishnah, you can't establish a Mishnah, you're talking about a Shchimera. Mimai. How do you know that? I mean, the Tani, however, Tnu Gezel Ishi, the Mishnah starts off, says, give a get to my wife. And he died. You don't give it after death. Time with the mace, the reason is because he died. If he was still alive, no sin. Right? Time with the Amar Tznu, it's because he said give. Halo Amar Tznu, ain't no sin. If he just said write a get for my wife, or write a star sheker for my effort, you wouldn't give it, even if the guy was still alive. V'shchivira, I forgot the Amar Tznu, no sin. However, since that's talking about the ratio of the Mishnah, the Shchimera, by talking about giving $100, that's also talking about the Sefer or Mishnah. And the Shchimera is not like that. Even if you just say write the star of $100, you give it. This not, how do you know? It's pretty sure now you omrim mayotze v'kol of amar kisvu gel ishti harelo yichtav of yistu. In the beginning, they said someone who's going out changed. He's chained. He's going to his execution. He's on death row, and he says while he's going out to his execution, write a get for my wife. They said that is sufficient. It's kilu. It's as if he were to say give it to my wife. You have to instruct specifically not to just say it, but also to give it. Part of the get is the main part of the get is to give it to the woman. So you have to at least set up a shliach. You could do it through a shliach, but set up a shliach to give the get. Then they reflected on it. They said even more. Someone who's going to the seas, a dangerous voyage, or he's going on a caravan to the desert, which is likely that he's going to die. Again, in that case also, he meant to say, even though he just said, write a get for my wife, he also meant to say, give. Even when someone who's sick, he's sick. Also, it's included, he meant to say, give. So therefore, presumably hold like Rosh Shimon Zuri. And therefore, it comes to a get, even if he would write, kisvu is enough, write is enough. Our Mishnah implies it's only tznu, it has to be specifically give. Masker Rashi has a problem with this explanation of Rav Zvid. Rav Shimon Zuri added on to what the Rabbanan said. He says even someone who dying of natural causes, right? Natural causes, anything can happen. If you go and you're going to execution, right, you're probably going to die, very likely going to die. You're going on a dangerous voyage, it's a good chance you're going to die. Someone who's sick can get better at any time. So the Rabbanan don't agree with Rosh Shimon Zuri, and presumably that's what our Mishnah holds like. Who says we hold like? Our Mishnah holds like Rosh Shimon Zuri. Gufa, Amar Rav Hun Amar Rav. So back to the discussion about my Mishlashtan. I deposited money by you. Give it to the third person. We're all three in the room together. The person is kona merely through my dibur, through my words. Amar Rav Mistavram. You'll say the Rav. Rav said it makes sense what the Rav says. When I deposit money by Shimon, the intermediary. However, if Shimon borrowed money from me, let's say to Shimon, the money you borrowed from me, give to Levi. That doesn't make sense. But the Gemara notes, Amar Rav, Filu b'milveh. Rav actually explicitly said it applies to my milveh. Itmar Nami Amar Shmuel Mishmei de Levi Milveh Malvili b'yadcha Tnei Leponi Mishlashan Kana explicitly. A halva, a loan in a third person's hand, an intermediary's hand, give it to another person. It's kona through dibur. The time of my, why does it work? Amar Ameimar Nasa Gomer Lo b'Shas Matan Mos Shabbat Nalach Ledidcha L'Chol Asu Machmas. At least when it comes to a milveh. When Shimon borrowed the money from Ruvain, it's like he said, I am meshubah to pay you back. And also to pay anyone that you owe money to. So therefore, Ruvain owes money to Levi. So therefore, at the beginning of the loan, it's like he already is meshabin himself, not just to pay back Ruvain, but also to pay back anyone that Ruvain owes money to also. So that's why it works, at least by halva. We'll stop over here. We'll continue talking about this discussion, Ma'im Shloshim, tomorrow. Stay tuned for Ian with Ben Sion, when I talk about this machlokes. What comes out at the end, the machlokes Rav Meir and the Rabbanan, whether it's a schus or a chov to free an eved, it's a very interesting machlokes. Hear what I have to say. Ian with Ben Sion coming up next.